Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm here with Anthony Kuzub at Ward Beck Systems in Toronto, Ontario. How's it going, Anthony?
Very good. Very good to see you, sir.
I've known Anthony since like back in 2001, 2002, something like that.
Something like that. I remember I have pictures of your studio when it was just insulation and drywall. So
Yeah, well, the original studio too. I mean, like the old place, the old basement place years ago.
I found you because I Googled the word Ward Beck, and your studio came up because you had a little console in there. So you were working on that, and yeah, so I collected those pictures and got in touch.
Yeah. Now, nobody's actually seen my Ward Beck stuff on the show because it's actually been sitting down in a closet. But Ward Beck is kind of one of Canada's best kept secrets when it comes to audio gear. You guys build super high-end broadcast stuff.
Very much so. Well, I like to say that the broadcast industry is a byproduct of the telephone industry, and the recording industry is a byproduct of the broadcast industry. So a lot of stuff trickles down from the broadcast industry.
Yeah, like the original compressors were all for broadcast.
Well, music studios couldn't afford Neves, so the broadcasters had them, and then they slowly made their way out of the hands of the broadcasters and into musicians' hands. Same with the Ward Beck stuff. Like, we made thousands of consoles, and now they're into the hands of the musicians. So
right, exactly. Like, I've got what's called an old T1202 broadcast console.
I printed off a little.
Yeah, I got to put this up in the studio because that's cool.
So this is the little console.
And
the T. Do you know what the T stands for?
No.
I believe it stands for transportable.
Oh yeah, it only weighs like 150 pounds.
Yeah, well, they couldn't call it portable, so it's transportable.
Yes.
Like transatlantic portable. Like you can.
Yeah, you need to put it on wheels and like a rail car or something.
Or Teamster portable.
Yeah, the thing really weighed a metric fuck tons. I'm not making a joke either.
But they don't make consoles out of quarter-inch aluminum anymore. Like
No.
They don't make consoles out of extruded aluminum anymore. Like
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They've got their own metal fabrication in the plant here. We're going to take a look at that in a sec. But seriously, the reason why that thing was so heavy, I swear, is because of the Transformers.
Very much so. Well, Transformers are they're like a really amazing secret they're the secret sauce of a lot of things. But Transformers were available back then. There was a lot of chunks of iron in there, a lot of coils. But it's come a long way. Audio has come a long way since Transformers. Yeah.
You guys always hear about Neves and APIs, and to a certain extent, Trident. Well, Ward Beck is kind of like the Canadian version of all that. It's all like super high-end stuff, again, from the broadcast industry, but the preamps are absolutely freaking killer for rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm glad you think so. Well, they were designed to take anything you could throw at them. So as broadcasters, they didn't know what was going to get plugged into this thing at the beginning of the day. They didn't know what was going to be coming out of it. Like, they just had to be versatile, and versatility is the name of the game in broadcast. So that's why all these companies existed in broadcast.
Exactly. And well, the reason I got it because, I was looking at some higher end preamps, and then I see, somebody mentioned Ward Beck, and I'm like, ooh, okay, well, here's a 12 channel version. It's got 12, Class A transformer coupled mic preamps. And, the thing did a tour of duty in my studio for a good 6 or 7 years. And, I did some cool records with that thing. I think we used that on the second Woods of Replay record. Maybe the first one too. A lot of the drums went through that, some of the guitars, that kind of stuff.
Well, bang for buck. Like the thing about Ward Beck, they made hundreds, if not thousands of consoles. Actually, no, they made close to, we don't know. We actually don't know how many consoles they made. So I want to say 6,000 to 8,000 handmade, one-of-a-kind mixing consoles. And everybody had their own different thing for it. But what's happened with a lot of guys they find these consoles, and let me tell you how inconvenient it is to have huge mixing consoles it's hugely inconvenient. They're race cars. Like, you need a pit crew to run these things.
And keep them updated too, yes.
Keep them up. Well, but it's I was showing you the switches, they're like inside each switch is 6 to 8 mechanical moving parts per switch. And that's very much taken for granted, and people don't realize just how much love goes into making these things stay alive.
Yeah, like I said, when I got my hold of mine, I mean, like, I had to rewire it for studio use because it was set for broadcast. Had 12 ins, had 2 outs. That was it. Yeah. So I had to come up with some discrete outputs for all the preamps. So that took a couple weeks, and getting all the switches clean, that took a couple cans of deoxit and
yeah, tons of stuff. Well, we got yours. We got yours into a super secret bath with some super secret sauce.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got 4 of these preamp EQs in Anthony's secret sauce. That's what she said.
Very much so. Wow. you gotta get rid of the lube off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like, well, that's the thing. I mean, like that console's from '83, so what we're talking 34 years
Yeah.
of crud and
Totally.
grime and
Bartar. I like to call it bartar. When you get some of these consoles, it's like it's been in a bar, guys smoke, and you put the deoxid in an environment, you put it down near the ground, air moves around it, and it just collects dust and dust and dust and dust. And then the dust goes in the switch, and then it's inside these.
well, you were showing me one of the pictures of some of the older consoles. One of them actually had a built-in ashtray holder.
Yeah.
They actually built a console with a built-in
Ashtray. So, and that was for the National Film Board. So the
Oh, great.
So the first console that Ward Beck ever built was for the National Film Board
of Canada.
of Canada, not the band.
We just got to talk about One Nation because this is a worldwide show.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
We've got
We got to represent Canada.
exactly like we've got fans, in the Middle East. We've got fans in the Far East. We've got fans in Australia, all Europe, Africa, you name it. It's like, hi everybody, yeah. So this is one of Canada's best kept secrets about when it comes to audio gear. Like I said, Ward Beck's legendary. I remember getting my console in the early 2000s, and I'm thinking, wow, they're still in business. It'd be so cool to visit one day. Here we are, 2017.
This is amazing. Well, that website, we started it in 2001, and Glenn was
Ward
part
Beck Preservation Society.
WBSPS.ca. What a fun time. But yeah, 2001, and it's been hundreds of people, and I don't get a lot of questions nowadays because I think we answered all of them.
Well, that and you bought everything.
That I have a sick obsession with. I want to collect one of everything, and unfortunately, they made 10,000 different things, so it's a lot of floor space, and we'll show you that later. This console is our front room console. She's lovingly referred to as Pauline because the guy I got it from, his name was Paul, so they always get named after the guy I get it from.
Now, whose console is that?
This is my personal console.
Oh, okay.
So this is one of my personal consoles.
Aren't you telling me somebody very special had some gear made up for that?
Well, one of the things, there's a guy out in Vancouver by the name of Garth Richardson who is currently going through a whole bunch of stuff, and one of the things he did was he needed to have a custom booster amp for his console. So we built him a booster amp. Yeah, well, yeah, there's a booster amp for that, and then he wanted to change the sensitivity pots to stepped. So people love that. But why do they use step? Why are step potentiometers better than variable?
Stereo pairs.
So you can do stereo pairs. Okay, but why can you do stereo pairs?
I'm sorry?
Why can you do stereo pairs with them?
So they've got the exact same gain?
So they got the exact same resistance on the potentiometer.
Ooh, okay, learning.
So if you have a fully sweepable pot, it's they're mechanical. They're unpredictable because there's tolerance of human beings and tolerance of mechanical things. Right. But a switch, when you're switching a resistor to a resistor to a resistor, you can match those resistors precisely within like 0.01%.
Right now.
Okay, so this is an M460A that we are re-releasing for our 50th anniversary. So over here on the shelf, we have a bunch of these that are going into production. So what we've done is we've got 50 of these microphone preamp pairs that we're matching up. I've been taking them apart and matching up the various components that are within them. Inside the M460, there are gain cards for the microphone preamp, gain cards for the EQ. There is an insert driver, and then there's an output line driver. So you can drive the gain on the input differently than you can drive the gain at the output, but you can also drive an insert send and return or a fader with it. Wow! So we're putting these into the box, and what we have.
You're running Cat 5 internally here to an XLR. How does Cat 5 to XLR work? Tell me all about that.
Okay. So you have to understand common mode rejection. Common mode rejection of audio signals happens because of the twisted pairs. That's the thing that makes audio possible when it comes to noise rejection. It isn't the shield, it's the twisted pairs and the way the noise gets canceled out at the receive end. So inside a piece of equipment, you have a chassis which is ground. So this ground is your ground. ground. You don't need a shield inside of every single cable because the chassis is the shield from the outside world. So Cat cable, there are 4 wires within Cat cable. I call it the sun, the sky, the grass, and the earth. And that's the channel order I use. So sun, sky, grass, earth. Sun is one, sky, grass, earth. And they're twisted differently. And with each one of these, you can run a balanced signal through. So balanced signal being line level, AES3 level. You can even run microphone through it. But the thing about the microphone is you have to have a return path for ground. And when you have a return path for ground, you need to use shielded twisted pair. With these DB25, I hated DB25s. I used to wire like hundreds of DB25s. And it was always, it cost 30 to 40 bucks to, have a guy sit there and wire up a DB25 for me. So I came up with this, which is DB25 to cat, and you plug, and if you have another one on the other end, it's plug, and that's it for wiring up an entire studio and I can't pay a guy what I charge for these to do. But this was the start of all of this system, and what I'm able to do with these back mounts is, so you've got some M480s, and the M480 plugs into here, and then I specify this and this and this connect to this jumper. It goes out Cat cable, it goes to a standard XLR pinout onto XLR jacks, and then off into the rest of the studio, however you do it. But Cat cable is so cheap. It is so cheap. It's the best cable to happen to audio ever. It is absolutely the best thing to ever happen to audio cable, 100%. Like it's they don't call it snake oil for nothing. This is the pre-amplifier. So this is the front end of what's at your this isn't the same as what's in your 480s. This is very similar, but this is a Class A design on the front end. So if you look at a module is built up of other modules. So you have your input section, you have a preamp module, you have an EQ module, you have a amplifier module, you have insert point, a channel on, another module to drive the outputs. So first it hits a transformer. In the Ward Beck stuff, which is very different than a lot of companies, the line in and the mic in actually both go through the transformer. So if you're using your 480s as mojoizers, get some mojo out of your iron as well as your line input, it runs through the microphone preamp. Once it's through the microphone preamp, it's actually unbalanced. So the transformer takes a differential signal and then it makes it unbalanced. And then the preamp, what you're doing with that is you're only amplifying one sine wave instead of amplifying 2 sine waves. And with a Class A design, this differential input, you say balanced and differential. So this differential pair acts as the amplifier. You have a Class A section here, and then you have a push-pull transistor section, and then you have a line driver for the filter. So the filter, filter being, well, the first thing it should hit is a filter for roll-off. So you have your high-pass filter. And
that thing's got a high-pass? Oh, that's on this one, right?
Yeah, this thing.
That's not on the 480.
On the 480, no, but on the 470 it does. On the 470 it does. But where was it? See, this is documentation. It's like you don't get this stuff anymore when you buy a piece of equipment. So on this one it had a high pass filter and sensitivity around the microphone preamp. But there's a lot of stuff when you take a module out of a console. There's a lot of stuff that you can eliminate. Like for example, the reverb send, the feed, the foldback stuff, the PA send. You don't need that type of thing. So when we made this rack mount, what we did was we actually took out the components that are specific to a mixing console environment, and we made it a much cleaner look and fanned out some of the EQ filter section so you could actually get your big fingers around them instead of bumping things in. But they were pretty robust pieces of electronics for their time. And that's for sure.
What's a pair of these going to cost, rack?
I don't even know. I do believe they're in that 2,500 ballpark, I want to say.
So yeah, this is definitely a serious piece of gear.
Well, yeah,
This is not.
This is handmade and then followed by hand restored, followed by hand built electronics made in Canada.
Hand restored. So what, were you actually using vintage parts in there?
Yeah, we are using vintage parts in there, but we've gone through and all of them in an effort to make them, a pair. We've had to go through 100 preamps in order to get a pair that matches. Wow. So we had to go through 100 of these in order to find pairs that matched, and then we recap it. We change the voltage regulators on it. We added phantom power because these things didn't have phantom power when they first came out. So little things like that. Like it all adds up in terms of value. You can find the preamp for $600-700 on eBay, but it's the love and restoration that goes into these things that really give it its value.
So that's about $2,500 Canadian. So that's about $600 in real money. So yeah, we're back in the main room here. Anthony kind of talked my ear off for the last hour or so, and it was so cool. This place is like Candyland for audio geeks.
Yeah, very much so. There's candy everywhere. Yes.
I really like what do you call the Bearcats, the Bobcats?
The Bobcats are the breakout box.
Yes. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Breakout box.
Those are pretty sick, and those are going to go into the back of my racked up 480Cs.
I'll do a video of that.
Okay. That's going to be really cool. But he was just kind of explained, what you can actually do with that. But the thing is, you love your cat cable not only for analog signal but for digital signal. Now watch. This is where it gets interesting. Check this out.
Okay. Are there AES members?
There might be a couple.
Yeah, but they were at AES. I think there were a couple of them there.
Oh, sure.
Do you follow AES standards?
What are those?
Okay, well, like what pin on an XLR is hot?
Pin 2.
Okay, so who decided that?
Fucked if I know.
The AES did.
Okay. Right. Well, I know. Hey, here's the thing. There's an AES output on the back of my Aphex channel, and I've got an AES input on the back of my RME. And for the first time in my life, I can actually use AES digital to get from one unit to another because it always used to be SPDIF.
Okay. So what's SPDIF stand for?
Sony Philips Digital Interface.
Okay. So AES.
Audio Engineering Society. Yes.
Okay. So
why is AES better than SPDIF?
Well, one is balanced and one is unbalanced.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Okay. SPDIF also has some copy protection in it. So there's actually a couple bits that you can flip and you can encode things, but there's also there's a bit that you can flip in AES that you cannot flip in SPDIF. And then also AES is balanced, but you can run it unbalanced, so you can have a higher signal to noise ratio, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, AES, it comes down to 8.
Let's talk about the AES.
So there's AES 3 is coming off of the back of your thing. Maddie, I think, is AES 10.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now the new one is AES 67.
And this is what this is what he was getting crazy about at the AES convention. He was kind of losing his mind. Tell us all a little bit about this.
So you have USB, you have Thunderbolt, you have Ethernet.
Right.
Which one's faster?
Ethernet.
Is it?
Okay, I don't know. What's faster? USB.
I don't know.
I don't know.
See, there's a lot of uncertainties.
Survey says?
You have 1 gigabit per second. So how many you have internet? How many megabits per second is stereo?
That's a good question.
Okay, so you have 48K times 2, so that's stereo. Yep. 48 times 2 times 24 bits. Yes. So it's 48,000 times 2 times 24. I think it's 3.5 million. So it's 3.5 megabits per second. 3.5 megabits per second for stereo.
Wow.
At 48K. So now you have a gigabit Ethernet connector on your computer. So how many channels can you get?
How many?
Fuck ton. And then
you were waiting all day to say that, weren't you?
Yeah, I've been saving that one. But then you look at like a network switch. Okay, so you have 24 gigabit ports. Okay, then you have 10 gigabits coming out of that.
Okay, enough with the math. Get to the point.
So when you have a network, you can have so for example, we make this thing, which is a single channel microphone preamp, and once it's on a network, any computer that is on that network can access that node. So if you
that's basically a sound card, mic preamp, everything all in one.
Yeah,
you just hook it up to a network switch.
Exactly, but there's no drivers. As soon as you plug it in, it has power over Ethernet. So you just plug it into your network switch, and then your virtual sound cards can receive it. And I'm not talking like one or two computers. You can put it to n number of computers. We were just talking if you had every compressor on a network. This is
where it gets interesting.
If you have every compressor on your network, let's say you have an A to D and a D to A for every piece of outboard gear you have, you could feed this one microphone to every piece of outboard gear you have simultaneously and record the output of every piece of outboard gear you have simultaneously.
So let's say I'm mixing and I've got a snare drum and I've got a couple different mics on it. I can take that one channel and run it to, like, say 17 different compressors just to hear how they all sound.
Yes.
Or then I could also run them in series and parallel as well.
Yes.
So that's where the real strength of the system comes in. And that's AES what? What's the name of the system?
67. So, and the control side of things, like this is remotely controlled. On top of things, like it is, you can log into this thing and change the gain and the phantom power settings.
Yes. Well, it's just like I was controlling the
exactly.
camera by the phone. So you're going to be able to get an app and basically
yes.
control your mic, pre's, compressors, EQs.
But the control side of things is another AES standard called AES 70. So AES 70 is the emerging thing. So your app that controls your camera only controls your camera.
Right.
So the app that controls this Primo also controls the Focusrites. That also controls the Lawo stuff. That also controls the Wheatstone stuff. That also controls But it's just a matter of people adopting the standards.
Okay.
So again, that standard is AES 70.audio. Networking.audio. That's where we're hanging out. That's where we're trying to educate as much as we possibly can. So we have a Facebook group that is essentially, the future of audio. So if I have any advice for anybody who's just getting into audio, it's that it's going to be on a network very soon, and your computer skills have to quadruple very, very quickly. So learn how to VLAN, stop soldering, and way more subnetting. That's my advice to everyone.
Okay, cool. All right, Anthony, thank you so much for being on the show. Yeah. Seriously, I've known this guy for ages. So there you go. Ward Beck Systems, from classic audio gear and like being legends in Canadian broadcast. And Anthony wants to...
There's also .systems.
Oh, okay.
So our website is ward-beck.systems.
Oh, how cool. Right. Yeah, I was wondering about that. But anyway. Okay. So, yeah, Ward Beck Systems. Yeah, absolute legends in the Canadian broadcast field. Actually, worldwide broadcast, because you guys sold a lot of boards to American networks as well. So there you go. From being legends in the broadcast scene to cool boutique EQs and compressors found in project studios all over the world to absolute bleeding edge recording tech, especially when it comes to network technology. These guys have done it all. They're doing it all. So there you go. Everything from the old machine shops and bending metal to bending audio all over the world from your phone.
Wow.